Long story short, iron is known to be protective against demons or fairies or some other type of evil spirit. And I spent an entire day looking up information and double checking it before I sent this message to someone. I have more info about iron I'll send you if I have time after work. Digging into more info, iron seems to be a stabilizer because of how disruptive iron is to changes in an already magnetic field. In other words, if you are within a magnetic field and iron is within that same magnetic field, then the magnetic field you are in will become more stable. Or the magnetic field you are in will be more resistant to change. Continuing on reading this message, in other words, iron creates stability because iron makes it harder to create change in a magnetic field that the iron itself already exists in. Now, what that means is, if you have a magnetic field and then you put iron in that magnetic field, just sitting on a table or something, what will happen is the iron will make it very hard for change to happen. Or iron itself will make it even more difficult for a change to happen to that magnetic field. Now, wait. There's more. It also appears from my own research with known scientific facts that iron provides greater resistance to change the faster the change appears to manifest. So let's say you have a magnetic field again, and then you have iron sitting in that magnetic field again. If you slowly change the magnetic field, then the iron itself will put up less resistance. On the other hand, if you try to flip a switch, or if you try to just force a change in the magnetic field by like pushing the lines somehow, just pretend you can push the lines, the iron will put up way more of a fight. For those of you who had like science class where they made this really, really thick liquid that you can run on, but if you stood still, the liquid would basically allow you to pass through. This is like that science experiment. The more forceful you try to be with iron, the more it's going to resist your change. The less forceful you try to be with iron, the less resistance iron will give you. In other words, if something like a demon or a monster or some other quote unquote evil spirit tries to pop up, there is a good chance, it's not guaranteed, but there's a good chance that iron will buy you time. Again, there is a good chance that iron would buy you time, or at the very least, it'd make it more difficult for whatever's there to just pop up or maintain itself. Another note is that even though iron can absorb radio frequencies with varying effectiveness based on how high the frequency is, lower frequencies penetrate deeper and allow the iron to work more effectively. Higher frequencies make it harder for the iron to work effectively, producing a skin deep effect. This means higher frequencies cannot be absorbed as easily as lower frequencies, and as a result, are reflected more than they are absorbed or disrupted. Think of Eddy Currents. Now, what I just said in simple terms is that the lower the radio frequency, the weaker the eddy current. Now, an eddy current is like a counter force or an opposing reaction to a magnetic field. And if a magnetic field redirects electricity into itself, then an eddy current wants to do the opposite and take away electricity from the magnetic field. I'm keeping this simple. Now here's where it gets crazy, right? The stronger the eddy currents, the stronger, my bad, the weaker the penetration of the radio frequencies. And so just think of 5G and a bunch of other things. Let me continue before I just fall asleep on this computer. The core of the Earth is around 80% iron, maybe 85%. And then there is some nickel between 5 and 10%. They say the core produces the magnetic field. I wonder why. I'm not done yet. There's also iron in our blood. I'm so tired. I don't know why. The more I read this, the more tired I get. Basically, I don't think it's an accident that both the planet and our blood has iron inside of it. Again, I don't think that's an accident. I gotta go to sleep. Thank you. See ya.